This episode of the ABIC podcast is brought to you by the Global Beauty Group. Hello and welcome to the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's guest is Heather Vonu from the Global Beauty Group, Global Education Innovator at the Global Beauty Group. Heather is an esteemed leader in the beauty education sector. With a degree from the University of Johannesburg Faculty of Health Sciences, Heather's career has spanned globally, including roles at the International Dermal Institute and Baché, where she revamped national training programs. At Ultraceuticals, she launched the award-winning UltraAcademy. And since joining the Global Beauty Group in 2019, Heather has pioneered their acclaimed Education Hub blended learning program, earning multiple accolades, including 2024's ABIA Educator of the Year Award and LearnX Blended Learning Program Awards in 2022, 23, and 24. Here to discuss the science behind HIFU from the Global Beauty Group, today we welcome Heather Vonu. Welcome to the podcast, Heather. How are you today?
Oh, it's great to be here, Steph. I'm so excited to talk about this because, I think it's a hot topic, aging, and it's particularly a hot topic for me because I turn 50 soon. So everything that I like to talk about is something I actually personally want to use on my own skin. And I often say to people, it's almost an emergency, So I'm really excited to talk about today's topic on HIFU technology.
Oh my goodness, when you said it's an emergency, I feel you. That's how every time I look in the mirror in the morning, I'm like, it is an emergency. I need a lift, but I am so excited to talk to you today as well. Before we get stuck into our topic of the day, which is HIFU and all things anti-aging, tell us about yourself, Heather. Tell the listeners out there how you actually came into the beauty and aesthetic industry.
Gosh, it was so long ago. As you heard, I just turned 50. So I've been in the industry. I've seen so much change, and particularly in the last couple of years. But I'd have to say that when I was studying, we did 3 years of anatomy and physiology, which was just fascinating to be able to explore the skin on a cellular level. And then once we had that basic foundation understanding, then see just how ingredient technology and back then it was all about iontophoresis and, electrolysis and, technology that people just don't use anymore. But it was so interesting seeing how different technologies influence the cells on that microscopic level. And so that really is a passion that's ignited every step of my journey and led me to, lecture all around the world. I was so lucky that I had that opportunity when I was working with Dermalogica. I worked with Ultraceuticals and, now more recently for the last 6 years, I've been with the Global Beauty Group, but the passion is still there. I'm just always in awe at the skin and how just even here, you and I are just sitting talking. And while we're doing that, there's all these cellular reactions taking place. And we don't have to say, okay, let's make sure we're going through the melanogenesis process right now because it's just happening, So it is really fascinating to see how also human beings have been so innovative in coming up with ways to support the structure of the skin through various skin conditions or, in today's topic with aging as well.
Absolutely. And when you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, I'm much the same. I've been in the industry for
quite some time. And the passion, the excitement, it seems to be renewed every day, every year. And I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that there are so many emerging technologies. There's so much innovation that keeps us excited. It keeps us wanting to come back to see what else we can do for our patients, for ourselves, for our clients. And I think that's what keeps it fresh and alive as well.
And it's exciting, because I think way back in the day, it was all about a steam and a cream, and you just went for that, and you hope for the best. And people would buy their skincare based on whether it matched their bathroom tiles. But I still remember looking at ingredient technology back then, and I was like, wow, how did people get results? And today it's all about that. I think the technology, whether it be through ingredient technology or through device technology, you can get real visible results on the skin. And that's what's exciting, to be able to support your clients with something that they're going to get that return on investment when they come and see you, because there's nothing more fulfilling than being able to help somebody feel better about the skin that they're in, and we get to do that every day as skin technicians and practitioners, which is so exciting.
I love what you just said. And we are talking about technology today, and this particular technology excites me because there's so much potential with it, and there's so many places we can go with it. I remember when it first, well, not when it first came out, but when I first tried it, there was the newer devices on the market, and I was like, let me get my hands on this, let me try it. And that was years and years ago. And I know we've come so far because I remember having the treatment and thinking, wow, this is quite an intense feeling.
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
Tell us, I mean, we're talking about HIFU. Let's start with what is HIFU in the
Yes.
context of the aesthetic industry?
Well, I think it's when let's just break down the acronym. So HIFU stands for high intensity focused ultrasound. And so let's look at the word ultrasound first. So if we look at the word ultrasound, we know that this is using sound technology, believe it or not. It's crazy, but yeah, we're using sound, but the sound waves that we're using are ultrasound. So we cannot hear them. It's not, our human ears can't hear this sound technology. So what they've done is they've taken a very high intensity energy and then basically converted that energy into ultrasound technology. And then there's a little mechanism inside HIFU devices called a transducer that then takes that ultrasound technology and focuses it into specific depths within the skin. And that high intensity heat creates what we call a tissue coagulation point, which, like many of our listeners will acknowledge, this is where we're going to find there's that controlled wound healing response, which produces all those delicious results that we like to see when you're aging, or you want to see that nice lifting, particularly in the lower part of the face where we start to see the loss of that definition and all those sort of fat pads that used to be high up are now sort of sinking because the collagen and the muscle structure within the dermis and the muscles themselves are just not as strong. So that's essentially what HIFU is. And it's very different to, say, other ultrasound that you may find people using in the industry. So, I mean, sonophoresis, been around for 5 million years, it feels like, also using ultrasound, but this is not as high intensity. So the energy we're using is not as high intensity as HIFU, high intensity focused ultrasound. It's not as focused. It's more broad. And what it does is it really focuses on the epidermis versus the dermis and the SMAS muscle group. So all it does is sort of agitate the cement, or what we call the lipid bilayer, between the cells, creating little gas bubbles and allowing those ingredients to penetrate deeper. So that's one form of ultrasound that's also used. And then another very familiar one that's very popular for us at the Global Beauty Group is body contouring, which really what you're using there is ultrasound to penetrate deeper beyond the muscle and into the fatty tissue, where it really just agitates the membrane of a fat cell or an adipocyte. And when it does that, it creates like little gaps, and the triglycerides that are made up of glycerol and fatty acids can escape, making them more readily available to be used during exercise or eliminated from the body. So the ultrasound, it's quite fascinating that human beings have been able to take sound and manipulate it in so many different ways. That's just our industry. You know, there's ways that it's used in the medical industry, which again are very different. So it is quite fascinating to see how it's been used for us in our industry for tightening the muscles and tightening the dermis and getting that lifting action, even on the brow. You know, that's something that a lot of people start to notice, is that heavier lid. So yeah, I just love it. I swear, I just want to buy one for my own personal use.
Tell me about it.
It's an emergency, I told you.
I would love to have one in my little treatment room at home.
Yeah.
Target different areas. When you were talking about the body, I was very excited. I love the way you explained that as well. There are a few myths out there, and I don't know if they're exactly myths, but they're worries in the industry and by clients. And one of them is it safe? Is HIFU safe? And of course, I mean, we've been using ultrasound for, I mean, medically anyway, for years and years.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the safety profile.
Look, you know, it was introduced in 2009, HIFU technology. And at that point, it was actually fantastic because, you know, when there was a study done on what clients actually want from these types of treatments, they want to look natural. They want to have more relaxed look on, they want to be able to move their face. They don't want to look like a weirdo, you know. I mean, they want to make sure that they are also going to not damage any nerves. They want to make sure that it's worth their while, that they're going to see a result and that they're going to get a return on investment. And so when HIFU entered the marketplace, it was quite amazing because it ticked all those boxes. It's like, yes, we can make sure that, you know, you can have natural looking results and you can achieve that after one treatment. And guess what? There's no downtime. And, you know, in fact, the results you see are immediate, but you will find that over the coming months, it's actually going to improve as that wound healing response continues to evolve and grow new collagen and elastin in those various layers of the skin. But one of the things that is common is that there's a lot of HIFU. I mean, you can even buy these things on Alibaba, you know, and
That's scary.
it is scary because if you are not using the kind of technology that we've got with our ARTG listed device that's also endorsed by a lot of dermatologists and plastic surgeons around the globe, you can find that it could actually cause unwanted fat reduction in the face. It could cause nerve damage. Sometimes that could be even permanent. And for most people, the reason they don't want to have HIFU, and this would probably be me, is because it's so painful. You know, it feels like, I mean, I'm such a baby. So, but I can probably say that most people you talk to who have HIFU will say they won't go back because it was just so painful. They were gripping the side of that treatment table that they couldn't endure it. They would rather be under general anesthetic or something like that, you know. So I think it's really important that you look for some key differentiators in the technology, because yes, there's HIFU. We've explored what does that mean, but there needs to be some additional key technology pieces within the device to ensure that it's safe, that you're targeting exactly where you want to target, and that it's actually, you know, the client can have it because it's minimal pain, minimal discomfort. You know, some people say they hardly feel anything. So it's quite remarkable that if you've got the right technology, you can get great results. And then can you imagine if you couple this with something like your collagen induction therapy or some, you know, cosmeceutical grade ingredient technology and, you know, the knowledge and the skill sets and the care of a well-trained, well-educated therapist. I mean, boom. Yes, please. I'll take that for Christmas and I'll give it to all my friends, you know.
Oh, I love how your enthusiasm is wonderful. And I absolutely adore you talking about multi-therapy approach. We've come a long way. A long time ago, I started doing this, maybe about 20 years ago. I started with multi-therapy. I thought one treatment is not enough. You need the gamut for a holistic, very natural, beautiful approach that targets every area of your skin concerns, because many people have various skin concerns, from pigmentation to aging, to skin laxity, fine lines and wrinkles, and there's always a combination of things happening for us. So one treatment isn't your one and done. We do need a variety of treatments, and I feel like HIFU fills this gap that was just always there. We could never get, when you need skin tightening, you need surgery, right? But these days, you can intervene earlier, and you can change the trajectory of your aging by setting a different course, by setting a different path, and stimulating those areas that need rejuvenation before you get to that point. It was always leave my skin until I'm 60 and then get a facelift. We're not there anymore. We can change that dramatically. And you were talking about technology. Do you want to dive into, let's talk about technology now? And
Sure.
I'd
Well,
love
let's
to
get
hear.
into it. I mean, look, I'm going to try and break it down because, when you hear all these big words, it can be a bit overwhelming. So I'll do my best to try and explain it. But one of the things that Liftera actually uses in their technology is micro-focused ultrasound. And this is a digitalized micro-focused ultrasound. So I think to understand what does that mean and who cares, I think I want to just talk a little bit about sound itself, because the type of sound that you use can really influence the way that that sound is delivered, the accuracy with which that sound is delivered. So with the micro-focused ultrasound that's digitalized, what you're finding with Liftera is that we're using a pure form of sound. A lot of, and most other HIFU devices do not use a pure form of sound. They do not use a digitalized form of ultrasound in the skin. So when we are talking about pure sound, basically it's just one main frequency. When a sound is not pure, it's like sound, but that has also a whole bunch of extra sound waves or frequencies attached to it. Right. So you're not going to get that precise, targeted, direct hit, if you like, to the depth that you want. And when that happens, you can accidentally hit a nerve, for example. You can maybe go deeper. The sound wave can travel across the layers more. So that means that it's more painful. You're also targeting maybe fat when you don't want to. You're targeting nerve endings when you don't want to. So it's really important that you're looking for something with a digitalized micro-focused ultrasound that's used in the technology. And another key point that we use is diffusion technology. And that is when normal HIFU is used, it's delivered, and the thermal coagulation points almost looks like a grain of rice. So it's quite long, which you can see that sharp, intense coagulation is actually split across a couple of layers and unintentionally targeting tissue layers and other tissues that we simply do not want to be targeting. When we use thermal diffusion technology, the thermal coagulation point is more spherical. So it's precise, it's focused, and you've got that intense pocket of coagulation, but then from that, a little bit of heat diffusion will spread from that focal point. So it's still within that layer, but it's actually quite efficient in targeting the surrounding tissue within that layer. And the heat is not as intense, so therefore it's not as painful. So by precisely targeting, by using that diffusion technology, and also by using 10 hertz, it's a very fast device, you're going to minimize the amount of discomfort. You're going to ensure that you're treating where you want to treat, and you're going to do it really efficiently and quickly, which is great because we want all of those things. We want efficiency, we want it done We want to do it with no downtime, and we want to do it with as little to no side effects and as much tolerability in terms of a pain as possible. So that's, hopefully that explains it a little bit, but yeah, it's quite fascinating what they've done there.
It's incredible, and it's come, as I said, it's come a long way. I remember when I first had my treatment, I felt like my teeth were going to pop. It was quite intense, and I've got a really good pain threshold, so I don't remember the pain. I don't think it was so bad that I couldn't endure it, but I remember the feeling, the quite intense feeling in my teeth, and I thought, oof, I'm glad I don't have to have these very often. But what you're talking about is a complete game changer.
It's a
It
game
makes you
changer.
micro-focused ultrasound, and it also makes, I think, all of our listeners a little bit more relaxed about the concept of fat removal and nerve damage, because we all know, I mean, we're in the industry, we all know people that's happened to, or we all know, colleagues it's happened to, or patients it's happened to with the earlier versions of the technology. When it first came out, there was this little bit of worry of, oh, what is it going to do to the lovely juicy fat in my face, which I really want to keep. But then again, I want my skin laxity gone. So it is a bit of a conundrum there. And with these two particular types of technology within the device, you're ensuring safety, but also more focused results.
Yes, with more comfort, So I think that's what's so exciting about this type of technology. And for somebody like me, I'm not like you. I am a baby. Like, I remember when we had to learn how to do waxing back in the day. No, wouldn't have it again. Had it once, no, can't have it again, too sore. So for me to say yes, I would definitely go back and have another HIFU treatment is saying something, because it is just, we're targeting the skin and the SMAS muscle fibers. And so there's 3 different depths that you can work at, which is going to be 1.5, which is sort of that upper papillary dermis. Then you've got your 3, which is about your reticular dermis and the fascia in between the 2. And then your SMAS muscle fiber, which is just located along the jawline there. And so that's at your 4.5, so we know that those are the target areas that we're going to be working on. And the way that we can ensure that we're targeting those areas, not just with the MFU that we just spoke about, but what's so cool is this device is so easy to use, right? You've got 2 types of hand pieces. One, you just slide a cartridge into the handpiece, and each cartridge is either 1.5, or you then have your 3, and then you have your 4.5. And so that's how you're going to use, and that's a line cartridge. So really good for more those flat surface areas of the face. And that's what most HIFU devices have, is some line cartridge. But the problem with the line cartridge is the face is not shaped like a table. It's not flat. Goodness, it's beautifully, got all this topography that we've got to work around, and there's some areas that are just more challenging. Like, if you really want to get in and work underneath that orbital ridge to do that eyebrow lift, you can't do that if you've got just a line cartridge. It's not going to be as easy. So what they do have is a pen cartridge, and there's a 1.5, a 3, and a 4.5 pen cartridge, which you can just mold around wherever you want, so it can be used slowly for a more intense treatment, or if you've got a baby like me, you can go really quickly and then you don't feel it as much. So, that pen cartridge is just so ergonomic and nice to use as a practitioner as well.
Since 2010, the Global Beauty Group has supported over 5,000 beauty businesses in Australia, New Zealand, and beyond with award-winning Medi-aesthetic technology. Their mission is simple: to make people feel wonderful by putting the client experience first. Offering over 20 cutting-edge technologies like the Medilux LED and the Ultralux Pro, they empower clinics to deliver outstanding results. With 7-day support marketing resources, and award-winning training through their education hub, the Global Beauty Group is committed to the success of their clients. Discover more at www.theglobalbeautygroup.com.au or call 03-8555 2246 and book your complimentary demo today.
So by using those, the pen cartridges and the line cartridges, you can use both in one treatment, you can use them independently. You really can target the neck, you can target the face, you can just focus on treatments that just target forehead and eyebrow lifting. That's quite phenomenal what they've actually come up with that pen cartridge as well, which is so cool.
Oh, that excites me, because I know when you're with a patient, when you're with a client, a lot of the times they do have specific areas of concern. And I know I'd have specific areas of concern. You know,
Yeah.
you're worried, oh, I'm going to treat my whole face. I don't really want that full face treatment. And with that big line cartridge, it's very bulky on the face, and you are targeting areas where you think, oh, perhaps I could do without that. That pen cartridge, how big is that?
You know, like those old glue sticks that you used to get, it's probably about the thickness of a glue stick, but a little bit longer. So it's really quite easy to hold, not heavy at all. And, you know, you just very easy to clean and very easy to use around the face. I think it's another game changer with this technology. I just love
Extremely
the
unique,
pen
isn't it?
cartridge.
I have not seen that in any other devices, which is pretty exciting. We were talking about what could the effects be, and you know, the safety profile and so forth. And the other question that I get all the time is, what about darker Fitzpatrick's? How can HIFU be used, and is it suitable for all skin types?
We say that it is, and that's specifically from the manufacturer, which is based in South Korea. So if you know, a South Korean skin is a lot more prone to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation than, say, you know, somebody with a lighter Fitzpatrick skin type. But, you know, we still like to take the precaution that if you have got a darker Fitz, just pop your client onto a tyrosinase inhibitor 2 weeks beforehand, just in case. You know, this technology does not target the epidermis, and that's where your melanocyte, as you know, resides. So that's why we can go ahead and use this kind of technology on all Fitzpatrick skin types. And it's quite remarkable. I mean, you really hardly see any kind of inflammation. You can come in during your lunch, boom, have the treatments in 30 minutes, depending on how many treatment areas you're having. And just go back to work. You can even put foundation on straight away afterwards. Do you know what I mean? And nobody would know. They're just like, gosh, you look like you had a good lunch break. You know, what was in that sandwich that you had? So yeah, it is quite phenomenal that it can be used, you know, because that is another barrier for so many other clients with the types of other technologies that are out there, is they're limited by the Fitzpatrick skin type.
So you're foregoing the epidermis, and you're heating specifically and only the layers of the skin that you want to target.
The upper dermis, the lower dermis, and the SMAS.
Wow, that is really, as you said, it's a game changer. Can you tell us specifically, so it's those cartridges, change those cartridges, that's what changes the depth?
Yes. So that's by simply changing the cartridge, that's going to allow you to focus on the depth that you're using. So you're knowing with the microfocused ultrasound technology, and also we're able to digitalize the peak power within that technology as well, because some HIFU devices, what they'll do is they aren't able to control the peak power where you need that tissue coagulation to take place. And it can actually make it extremely painful, or you can over-treat the skin, and you know, that leads to a whole bunch of complications, or it's under-treating and then you don't get any results. So by digitalizing the transducer's ability sort of capture that peak power, you're going to have efficiency, you're going to have controlled pain levels, your transducers are going to be precise because you're using a pure digitalized sound that also has that thermal diffusion technology. So that, coupled with the fact that you're using a pen transducer that's constantly in contact and can mold according to the topography of the face, and that you can use 10 hertz, just ensures maximum comfort, efficiency, awesome results. You're guaranteed that you're going to be targeting those tissues that you want to target, without damaging nerves or without targeting the fatty tissue within the skin as well.
And
Yeah.
so tell us about, I suppose we touched on multi-therapy a little bit before. What and how would you use this treatment? How would you structure your treatment plans using this type of technology?
It really depends on the experience of the practitioner. It depends on the tolerability of the client. You just got to really make sure you do a thorough consultation. You assess the client as a case-by-case scenario. You can't just use a broad stroke approach for every client, but you can certainly do multiple treatments in one treatment if the client needs that.
So we're talking about all things anti-aging and lifting. What results could you, I suppose, see with this treatment or expect to see? What's realistic?
What's realistic is immediate results. Like, that's what's kind of super freaky, actually, because if you're using a skin, we always encourage people to take before and after photographs, because it's not going to be like plastic surgery where all of a sudden you're like swing like this. No, I think you've also got to set some realistic expectations. But if you have those before and after images and you show the clients, you can actually see. And with the Observe technology that's out there now, you can even measure the amount of lifting that's actually taken place in the area that you've just treated. So, but that's not the exciting part, because that's almost like an instant sort of tightening that happens due to the coagulation process. But what's exciting is the results you're going to start to see over the coming months, where that new collagen, that new elastin is forming within those different tissue depths. And that's where you start to see the lifting. And so clients can have maybe 3 treatments, and maybe 1 maintenance treatment a year. But, I think there's always room to talk about, again, the consultation, because if somebody is a smoker, or if somebody has high stress levels, or has some kind of maybe nutrition deficit where they're not on a healthy diet, or maybe they've got really poor IBS and they're just not absorbing the nutrients. With any form of wound healing, it doesn't matter if it's collagen induction therapy, IPL treatments, or plastic surgery for that matter. If you're not going to really arm the body with the bricks, the mortar, the ingredients it needs to rebuild those structures, you're just not going to get as good a result. So I always like to encourage people to use a holistic approach when they think of a client. Don't just box them into that one treatment modality and expect that to do all the work. And it will do all the heavy lifting, but you need to maybe also think about, partnering with a nutritionist, or having some kind of supplementation within the business that can merge with your treatment prescriptions to ensure that you really can optimize your results. And then, of course, what are you applying topically every day as well? So it's just the treatments, there's only so much we can do within that treatment. When you go home, and what you're using every morning and every night, what you're eating, what you're drinking, all of that is going to also determine the efficacy of your end result. And I've actually personally seen that on my own skin. So yeah, I think it's really important to treat each individual holistically. And if a business isn't doing that already, I'd highly recommend that they do.
It's interesting because you were talking about the gym and comparing HIFU to the feeling of, DOMS. We all know going to the gym, you get that, you're like, oh no, the DOMS is coming.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when people do go to the gym, and bodybuilders will know this, they supplement for speedy recovery, right? They know the DOMS are setting in. They know they've had some muscle, I suppose, damage, and that's what you do when you go to the gym. You're working out your muscle, tearing those little fibers, and then they rebuild and build stronger. And I suppose that analogy carries over to HIFU. You are, you know, targeting and doing a little bit of that, you know, giving that little bit of wound happening, and then inducing that wound healing process in the different layers of the skin. And then you were talking about supplementation. I love the fact that you're so switched on to this, because most people don't realize you can take recovery supplements after you have treatments, these types of treatments, to actually speed up the recovery of your skin. There are so many supplements out there. There are collagen supplements, there's L-carnitine, there's a whole bunch of things you can do to your skin, for your skin internally, and especially right around the time that you're doing treatments. And this is a secret of the Hollywood stars. They'll go and have a treatment, but they'll also be on these recovery supplements after the treatment, so they speed up the recovery time. And I love, you're one of the very few people that's brought that up actually on the podcast.
It's so important. We get so sort of focused on the topic, you know, but you know, you just have to look at the body and know one system operates in isolation. You know, everything needs the other, and if one doesn't work, it affects the other. You know, it's like a beautiful orchestra, but if one instrument is not in tune, it affects the sound, you know. So it's the same, I think, with any treatment. And HIFU, because it is, you know, as you said, targeting so many different layers that require that restoration and that controlled wound healing response. Absolutely, you know, it's also a great way to generate a bit of additional revenue, first directly, but also because it's going to enhance your results. You're going to create raving fans. People are going to talk about you, and you know, gift vouchers are going to come in, referrals are going to come in, because you know, there is a level of care that's demonstrated when you also treat somebody holistically like that. And it also sets you apart as an expert, you know, and that's really, gosh, that's the best marketing tool that you can have in your business, you know, is your knowledge, which makes what you do with ABIC so valuable, is, you know, educating the industry and helping to arm people for success, you know, because, I mean, Nelson Mandela said it best, you know, knowledge is the power to change the world. And it definitely has changed our industry. Hey, if you think about how much it's changed over the years, my goodness, you have to be well educated to be ahead of the game and to make it through the tough times.
Thank you so much for bringing that up as well. And thank you to Global Beauty Group for being such a steadfast and loyal foundation member. And being a foundation member of ABIC, you are literally supporting the industry, because you're supporting the many, many professionals and individuals in the industry, but also supporting the clients, because the more we know, the better organized we are, the more able we are to represent ourselves, the more that we're able to advocate for patients' rights and for doing the right thing.
100%. You know, I mean, we've always got to raise the benchmark, and that's the only way we do it through education. So it's just wonderful to be a part of the ABIC family and to get the opportunity to share this information today. You know, I think that's another key differentiator, I'd have to say, when thinking about purchasing any piece of technology, is what kind of education are you going to get? You know, because great, we've spoken about all these big fancy words and what they do, and you know, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you've got great training that gives you ongoing support. And at the Global Beauty Group, we've had, I think, over 5 awards. We're nominated for a 6th award this year. Some are international. A lot of them are national ABIA awards for Educator of the Year. Even our educators themselves have been nominated as finalists in the awards as well. So we know that we're delivering a 5-star education experience, both online and in the classroom, and ongoing. So even once you've finished your training, you can contact our team via email 7 days a week. So you get that clinical support. And then it's also about what kind of technical support you get. You know, I mean, look, it shouldn't happen, but if it does happen, you want to be able to contact somebody 7 days a week to say, hey, I'm having this issue. What do I need? And essentially, it's normally operator error. They haven't switched something on at the back of the device. You know what it's like. But just to be able to have that support, I think speaks volumes. It's really important to think about that as well.
Well, as a clinic owner, I know those two things are at the top of my list. Am I going to get the education initially, ongoing support, and what happens when the machine breaks down? Am I going to have downtime? That is, I suppose, the big worry of all clinic owners. Therapists are always results. We want results too, of course, but if you're a clinic owner, you're thinking, how much is this all going to cost me? And the downtime costs so much, and it costs in inconveniencing clients. So the thing I love about Global is that you have such a huge team and you're on it. Every time I talk to any of your clients, they love the support, especially the technical support that you get. Talking about winning, education awards, it seems like I see one after another from Global, and it's your commitment to education and to furthering the cause of the professional beauty therapist in every way, from providing incredible devices to education to making sure that you're supported along the journey. It feels like a real family. And I know Kane is just so meticulous in everything that he does, and he's such a supporter of the industry.
He really is. He's such a massive advocate. And even coming back to our technical support, the team that we have are so passionate about helping people. I wish there was an award for technical support, because, there's so many unsung heroes within the industry that are just phenomenal. They're just phenomenal, the technical support team that we have.
I think we should ask Linda from ABIA to put that in, because I'm telling you, that would be a real shift in the industry. Let's get a technical support award going.
And I think it would really help also lift the standard in the industry when it comes to that very important component of device technology, for instance. I think it would be wonderful. So let's make a plan.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you today. Please come back. You are a wealth of knowledge. And when you told me that you were turning 50, I nearly fell off my chair, because you literally look 36. I've been looking at you, and everyone who's listening to the podcast doesn't get the privilege of staring at you for an hour, but I have, and I'm looking, where is the sign that you're 50?
Well, thank you. I'll take it. I've had 2 HIFU treatments now with Liftera, and I have to say I'm a big fan. So I think that's definitely contributed. But it's really not that hard, is it, to look after your skin? We can make it sound complicated, but it's just a very quick skincare routine that you do regularly with professional treatments, from really well-educated technicians. It just shows you, I love this new concept that's out there. It's called well-aging versus anti-aging, and let's just empower women to be the best that they can be at every age, and I think we don't want to try and look like we're 21 when we're 50, because then you just look weird, I think it's just about looking the best you can for your age. And I know we're a big advocate for that at the Global Beauty Group as well.
Such a fun podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.